It's certainly got this crowd in raptures, and it's a great game of football so far.
You talk about anticipation. I ran into Steve Roach, of course, who was one of the great Balmain front rowers throughout the glory years of the late 80s. I ran into Steve Roach just before this game, and he said he couldn't sleep last night. He was so excited.
He's always ready to play blocker.
We were talking about how this crowd can lift the Balmain Tigers. Jason Taylor, you're down there on the sideline. You're listening to it. You're amongst it. What's it like?
Oh, look, the Balmain crowd are enormous. They're really getting behind the Balmain side. As we said before, their confidence is lifting every minute and every time they hold the Manly side out. Something I think is important is I think if Cliff Lyons was out there in those few passages of play that Manly had at the Balmain line, that Manly might have come up with a try. Just the combination he seems to have with the rest of his players, and the great player we know that he is. And I'm sure in the next few weeks, when he is fit and coming on for the side, I'm sure Bob Fulton will be injecting him at times like we just saw when they're on the opposition's line. They've got the opposition rattled. To bring Cliff Lyons on, it would be a great move from Bob Fulton.
Well, we've already had some interesting results this weekend as Manly come up with a penalty. Two teams which made the top 8 playoffs last year, the North Sydney Bears of Jason Taylor and the Western Suburbs Magpies, have played in the last 24 hours, and both of them have lost to two teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. Well, again, we've got the reigning premiers, and they're up against a fully committed Balmain team.
Yeah, that was just a little inexperience from Balmain too. Tackle 5 there. There was no real reason to hold down and slow the play of the ball. They've paid the penalty. And it's a very important period here for Balmain. 13 minutes out from half-time. They've made a great start to the game. But a couple of little errors have just invited Manly back with some attacking football. And you'd have to think sooner or later any defence will crack under the quality of players that Manly can throw at you.
The ball inside. It goes back to Manly. Jeffs has penalised them. The crowd doesn't like it, but there's nothing they can do about it now. Shane Walker will be the last to get up. And Sedaris will take it quickly. Can he get over? The tackler was Walker. The long ball is to Tubi. He steps off his right foot. Gets around Hanley initially, but he picked him up at the second go. There's a long line up to the right. Field goes through. Does he need support? Yes, he does. Terry Hill over in the corner. It's all tied up at 4 points apiece.
Yeah, just the weight of quality possessions played against Balmain here. You can only hold on for so long, let alone against a quality side like Manly. Manly had a certain 2 points there from the penalty. They decided against it, took the quick tap, and within a couple of tackles, Craig Field was able to come across the field, draw in some Balmain defenders who have raced up and in. An overlap, a good pass, a basketball-type pass over the outside from Craig Field and Terry Hill. You see Gartner from dummy half. Field dummies, draws defence in. You see where Kennedy had to come in field from his centre position. That called his winger in, leaving Hill over on the outside. He just had to catch and pass and dive across the line.
This is 165th try in first grade football, and 7 tries only last year for Terry Hill. As we see Craig Field lining up this conversion from wide out. We've talked about the loss of Matthew Ridge and what that means positionally for Manly. This is where he will also be greatly missed. Field to put the Premiers in front. Well, he got heaps from the Leichhardt crowd. And as they will tell you, they got the right result. We're still tied up in the ball game here, 4 points apiece.
Well, they're here to cheer the Balmain crowd. 10 minutes before half-time, a tremendous start to the game by the Tigers. Now they've got to finish this 40 minutes of football off well. Just control and discipline, forget about what's just happened. Get back to the basics, controlling the ball for sets of 6, which they haven't done. And they also conceded 2 very important penalties. in the lead up to that try. You can't let Manly out of their own half cheaply. They paid the penalty for that. But it's still 4-all and a great 30 minutes opening to the game.
Carroll picks up 10 or 15 metres. This Balmain defence, with less than 10 minutes to go in the first half, has to find another gear. Hancock up from fullback will play it to Menzies. Kosef gets the ball back untidily, and it's knocked on by Jim Sidaris. It was unfair on the Manly hooker because it was an offload that wasn't a tidy one. And under the pressure there of Glenn Morrison, Sidaris knocked on. So it'll be a Balmain feed. And one of the new changes to the rules this year, of course, is that the words "in the middle" have been taken out of the regulation for feeding the scrum. Well, in the middle of the tunnel, all you have to do is feed it somewhere in the tunnel, which I guess anywhere, Phil Gould, between the two back rowers' legs.
As long as you get it, it doesn't matter.
They make space down the right-hand side, but they've knocked on. And Hopewadi.
This is where experience is going to tell for Balmain. Wayne Pearce will be looking for Tim Brasher and a couple of the senior players, Ellery Hanley, just to settle things down. They don't want to get caught into the Manly style of play and have the crowd exciting them into things that they can't do. They've got to play to their game plan. 8 minutes before half-time, Wayne Pearce will be glad to get his side in the dressing room, congratulate them for what they've done, but remind them that the discipline is what's going to win them the football game.
This is Gartner, flipped onto his back by Ellery Hanley, 5 metres inside Balmain territory. Craig Field charged down, but it was knocked on. And so the Tigers will come up with a scrum feed. It was an unfortunate, as you see, the kick through here from Field was knocked on, but then when Steve Menzies tried to follow up, that's where the knock-on came. A little fortuitous, you would say, for the Tigers, but I'm not sure you'll get, well, I'll get too much support for that comment here tonight. Gillette from dummy half picks up the big men. This is Stimson. Stimson is put on his back by Sidaris, who's going to be called out by referee Calvin Jeffs.
Well, this is something that's been talked about at the highest level in the game all week. I think it's been recognised by coaches and players and officials that it's really the players' responsibility not to get opposition players in dangerous positions and to protect them from that type of tackle. We can outlaw it all we like, but when Jim Sidaris felt that he lifted this player from the ground, it was really his responsibility to make sure he didn't end up in an awkward position. It was a one-on-one tackle. Sidaris, a very strong man, but he didn't take every avenue there to help the Balmain player to the ground. Not that you want to help him there gently, but you don't want to help him there dangerously. And the players have really got to take a responsibility in that regard. We don't want someone penalised, the ultimate, with injury from that type of tackle.
The Tigers with the ball 30 metres out. Stimson again picks up 5. They've got pace. They work the blind, bring Brasher back inside. He's got numbers out wide. He may not need them. Brasher will go all the way and score. Oh! Tim Brasher. Well, so many people have been looking at this man because he's off contract at the end of this year. And you'd have to say, Phil Gould, that one of the clubs which is interested in him is the team they're playing tonight. But he's put on an absolutely glorious solo try. The pace, he just ran around the defence, found the gap, and goes across for the 4-pointer, which puts Balmain back in front.
It's a perfect example of the difference between a great play and a great player. Now, when Balmain rehearsed this move, they'd have obviously thought that Brasher would be looking for a gap up the middle of the play the ball. It didn't present itself, but he was able to fan wide, find a lazy defender, and skirt around him and show the pace to get to the try line. Now, you don't rehearse that. You might have rehearsed the initial part of the play, but it's the instinct, the ability and the speed of a great player like Tim Brasher that can turn that type of thing into points. A perfect example of the difference between a great play and a great player there. He really made that for himself.
They'll have the opportunity to convert it as well. Put the ball 10 metres in from touch, just outside the 20-metre line. Can he bring it round? No, he can't.
It's so important in rugby league. Confidence really does go with possession. Balmain got a good flow of possession early in the game, rose in confidence. They started to give away a few penalties. Manly came back and got on the board. And just prior to that try, Balmain got a couple of extra sets of 6. A mistake by Manly, a knock-on from a 5th tackle option by Manly, and all of a sudden Balmain were able to settle their game down again, get back on the right track. And a set play, a great play by a great player, has put them in front just before half-time.
And Jason Taylor, if we thought the confidence was high before, it is absolutely soaring at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, Eric. I think, as Phil Gould was mentioning, Balmain were just turning over a few balls. Manly uncharacteristically had been making some mistakes, but Balmain weren't making them pay for them because they were turning the ball back over. But that was just a great play. Tim Brasher has really developed into one of the best players in the game, arguably the best player in the game, and that was from a rugby league fan's point of view, that was just absolutely great to watch, to see him full speed through the gap and scoring that try.
As long as we're against someone else, Jason, and not you.
Brasher plays it. This is Hanley. Haven't seen much of him this evening. He finally offloads and it comes back on Manly's side. You'd have to say that Balmain didn't get Ellery Hanley's best last year. Sidaris out of dummy half. Doesn't have any support at all. Looks for it, finds it now in Tuvey. Tuvey steps. Can't find a way through the tackle of Brasher. They've got numbers out to the right as they go forward. Tierney will play it. They work it right through Carroll. Gartner. And there's a penalty. It's been stripped. They're trying to get the ball back. Hanley was having nothing of it. Terry Hill is going on with it, perhaps a little foolishly. There's one way to incite the crowd here at Leichhardt. That's to have a crack at one of their favourites.
Balmain certainly aren't being intimidated either. There's some big names in this Manly side, but they're here to play tonight, Balmain, and they're here to play for their fans. And in every aspect of the game, they're certainly not laying down to this Manly side. I think Jason Taylor pointed to something important too, that Manly are just starting life without Cliff Lyons tonight, and just struggling a little bit with their options out on the edges of the ruck. Not as much variety as we normally see.
This is Menzies. He's got pace up the middle. He's put down 5 metres out. Sidaris. Tuvey back inside, picks up Kosef. The long ball out wide, Field. He's got Hill outside. He uses Danny Moore, and Danny Moore is put down in a good tackle there by Gary Edwards. Field, a good run there by Tierney. We'll come back for the line dropout. Jim Sidaris involved. As we see the ball come back, Sidaris, the kick ahead. And it was forced there by Ellery Hanley, who really had no option. But Balmain will have to once again turn this Manly tide. They lead by 8 points to 4. Less than a minute on the clock.
Yeah, this will virtually be the last set of 6 of the game. They've got a little lead leading into half-time. They've got to get up quickly here, win some territory, and then hold on for the next 5 tackles.
Danny Moore. Sidaris puts on the fend, runs around behind Jeff Tuvey.
They've controlled him very well, Sidaris. He can cut you up from dummy half, but he hasn't had many openings there when he's gone out for an investigation tonight, and Balmain have done a good job on him.
Craig Innes, who'd picked up 10 or so metres, goes through the hands of Tuvey. It's picked up by Field. Brings Gartner inside, but he's been well wrapped up tonight by Glenn Morrison.